What do we know? Let's talk about it. I might even just use that.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing edition of the USFL Podcast. I'm the ref representing PF Newsroom. That's Pro Football Newsroom, the leaders in spring football news. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we're waiting. We're waiting for the big news, but hopefully this week you'll notice that Zachy Boy's audio is just a little bit better. But before I bring you in, isn't it perfect that we had a nice little technical difficulty for the 70th episode of the show? It just feels right. It felt like it needed to be there. I was like, we're not re-recording this. We're good. We only had like one complaint, which I was amazed by. I thought the comments were going to be plastered with them, but
getting through the hiccups. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked too. But hey, props to the real fans out there keeping us on notice. We got it fixed. We know we did wrong. We're all good, but we're here talking more of everything you want about the merger, because hey, if there's anything these days everybody wants to know, or everybody wants to find a way to know what this thing's going to look like. So today, and I think this was a great idea by yourself in particular, let's talk about what we do know. Is probably the best way to put it, because there's a lot of people out there that I think are also getting tired of just hearing everyone's supposed angle on this whole thing. You go on Facebook and I know for darn sure there's a few people that are ready to just get this over with.
Well, it's amazing. I've said this in our Discord, which, by the way, link down below. You should be clicking it. It's the coolest place. We have over like 1,400 people in there. Wild spring football fans, a BBL, a big, beautiful league in there, if you will. But it is amazing to me, Zach, the differences in opinions from X or Twitter to Facebook. They're like completely different mirror universes in there. And today, we're going to bridge that gap, because we are a BBF, a big, beautiful family celebrating spring football. And we're going to talk about, like you said, the last week, I think we came in hot. There's so many stories and reports and developments coming out. Wanted to say, maybe take a step back. Let's look at all the things on the table, everything we know, and then maybe do a little bit of speculation, because, I just can't help myself based on some of that. But before we get into the goodies, before we get into the fun, couple housekeeping goodies here as well. At USFL Podcast, maybe limited time only, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok even maybe. Get over there, get signed up, get in where you fit in, because that's when you're seeing whenever any new episodes are dropping, and we're always hot to trot, usually on Fridays, but sometimes, depending on the news, and maybe any day of the week. So you're going to want to be over there. And hey, if you're watching over on YouTube, sign you up. You get to see these pretty faces. So make sure you're subscribed. Click the bell. It builds morale. You get signed up. You're having a good day. Maybe you're having a bad day. But I'll tell you this, you could always use a little bit of more morale in your life. So click the bell. Get some morale. Get signed up. And you know what else will sign you up? 10% off discount. You know what else will sign you up on top of that? USFL swag. Head over to breakingt.com/USFL newsroom, or just use the code USFL newsroom for 10% any order. Could be anything beyond the USFL. They have MLB gear. They have NFL gear. You can go get a hot to trot 10% off with the code USFL newsroom. And one last thing, because I always forget it. Audio listeners, we know you're there. Knock, knock. We hear ya. Here's what we want you to go ahead and maybe leave a review below the podcast. That would be really cool. That would be signed up of you. I would be excited. It could be good or bad. Let us know. Sign us up. All right. I think that's all I got.
Yeah, that's about it. But hey, you know what? It's good for that promo there for Breaking Tea. It is tis the corporate holiday season. For those that want to do it that way. I'm a Thanksgiving guy first. So, but you know, it's a good time to start shopping for those gifts. Might not be a bad time to use that promo to go get something for the person in your life that is the spring football fanatic that you know.
So so you're telling me that I shouldn't be celebrating Christmas already. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, if we want to get into this debate, we can do that as a little bit of the extra segments we do. It is that time of year, but not afraid to put out there that to me, I wait to carve the turkey. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, it's still part of the schedule. To
me, I just double up. You know, quite honestly, I've been debating one of these years I'm going to do it. Don't tempt me. I'm going to dress up as good old St. Nick Santa Claus for Halloween and kick it off real early.
Oh my God.
Set up the house. Because, I mean, we could even dress up the house. Do Christmas decorations for Halloween. Spooky, scary. But I'm the one. I will carve the turkey with a Christmas sweater on. We'll have the Christmas tree up. We might, you know, if there wasn't football on, we may have a Christmas flick on the TV screen. But you know what? Sign you up either way. I am a Christmas fiend. I love a good Christmas.
Yeah. Look this up in your spare time. But they're making a Thanksgiving horror film.
I think I heard this, but I didn't actually look into it. Is it going to be halfway decent?
I don't know, but I know that it's a horror film about Thanksgiving. So
they need more Thanksgiving movies. I mean, people say, "Oh, wow, everybody's going right into Christmas." I mean, you need a lot of time to get through all those classic movies. There's only like one Thanksgiving movie: Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Is there any more?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Is that it? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, obviously you got Charlie Brown's, Thanksgiving special where he, makes popcorn and gets jelly beans and all that. But like, that's kind of the one that I think would come to people's minds a lot. You know, there's probably a few comedies out there that I'm spacing on or something from like the 2000s, but that's about right.
Let us know down in the comments. Is there any Thanksgiving movies I should be adding to my itinerary? Because I'll be quite honest here. That's how I base my holidays. The more movies you have, the better the holiday. Halloween? Boom. We're celebrating Halloween in August, baby.
If Freeform doesn't use a month of their programming to show off a holiday, it doesn't count.
Exactly. So
let us know in the comments. Let's get into some serious football talk.
Yes.
Now.
So I teed it up. Last week, we came in hot, like a raging fire. We're talking about all the different reports, developments, things that we're hearing from across the different reporters in the scene. And I wanted to take a step back and say, well, okay, well, we're hearing this configuration. Well, let's look and see. Maybe there's some details within the facts that we do know. And I think we kind of touched on this last week, but I'll make a point of nothing is official until this news drops. Nobody, I mean, there's a lot of reports. There's a lot of hearsay, but I mean, realistically, there's probably like a handful of people that know what the final configuration could be. And even this, it might not even be final. Let's put that out there. But let's look. I mean, because we have a good amount of places that are actively selling tickets. We'll start with the USFL side, right? The big one that came up recently, Detroit, Ford Field, back in the mix. It's official now. Yes. I don't think I think we were still not sure about that on the last episode of the show, Zach. So now this is one extra to that list. Mm-hmm. We have naturally Canton, Ohio, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, which we've known for a while. Memphis, which we talked about last week, had their select a seat event just a couple weeks ago, not too long ago. And then, of course, Birmingham, where they hosted the league in season 1. They won the championship back-to-back. I think it was pretty clear that we were going to see the Stallions back in Birmingham. But hey, they're selling tickets. So as of now, those are the 4 USFL locations selling tickets. We don't have any new ones from last year, but more importantly, we don't have any drop-off from last season, right? So
nope.
Naturally, if you're having merger talks, I could see why we wouldn't have expanded around beyond those 4, because you want to see where the chips lay after this. Now, if you have to go into season 3, let's say this merger doesn't go through, because again, folks, there is a reality where that does happen, where there is no deal. I seem to think that we will see one, but that's not to say that it will or won't happen. XFL side. We have Arlington Choctaw Stadium, which last year served as kind of the pseudo hub for the XFL. So they hosted all 8 teams, but the teams would then fly out of Arlington to go to their respective cities, play the games, and then come back. But all the training camps, so on and so forth. So similar to Birmingham, I mean, this feels like a no-duh situation. Yeah, of course. They're going to be back in Arlington. They named the flipping team the Arlington Renegades. We talked about this last week.
Yes.
Over the Dallas
that was part of the whole negotiations to even make that a hub.
Right.
Was that they had to change the name to fit the city rather than fit the metro, which is it's unique, but hey, I get it. You know, fits what they're looking for.
Right. So this one, big one to me, DC, Audi Field. To me, well, one, it has one of the better atmospheres of all the stadiums, all the teams in the XFL, rivaled maybe only to the Battlehawks, which we'll get to a little bit later. I think this is important. Again, whether the leagues merge or not, this is a city that you don't want to lose going into your season 2 if you don't merge. Now, this is one that we talked about last week as potentially not being in the mix. So this is why I think it's important to talk about this. But
Orlando, 2 of them on this list we'll have.
But first one up, Orlando, Camping World Stadium. Tickets are on sale. People are actively out there trying to get new season ticket holders, get people's butts in seats. So it's an interesting kind of middle zone right now. We have reports, we have developments. We have things that openly contradict it. But I feel like this is the nature of the fluidity of it. And I mean, quite honestly, I could see a situation where some of the reports that we spoke about in the past maybe come to fruition with maybe some small details mixed up. And maybe Orlando's one of those small details, right? We'll have to see. Again, nothing is official until the news drops. I have my thoughts on that too, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. Now we're moving to the great state of Texas again. Oh, God, can we get like 4 teams in Texas? Maybe 5. I don't know. I can never have enough.
So you're going Austin, I guess, next? Would that be 4 for you? El Paso?
No, Austin's not allowed to have a team. Yeah, I'd rather give El Paso a team. College Station, I think, could be fun.
Yeah, you've talked about a College Station before on here, so that's fair.
College Station would be, I mean, it would be tough for me because I would then have to choose, do I want to root for the College Station team or the Houston team? Because I don't want to say I'm probably actually closer to College Station than I am Houston.
Okay.
Aggie Land, baby. Aggie Land. But anyway, a little bit west of that, southwest a little bit. San Antonio and the Alamo Dome. Again, glad we're seeing this stadium still in the league. Any dome, quite honestly, because it protects you from weather. And as a TV product, last season, there wasn't too many delays. There was a couple. Season 1, and if you remember during the spring league, my guy, there was a while where it was almost like every week there was something. Games were getting delayed. Like there was one game that got delayed like 3 times and moved on to it got moved to a Monday, then it got moved to a Tuesday, I think, in the spring league. So short week for some of those guys. Anyway, the importance of a dome, and it's in Texas. Texas is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mess with Texas. The San Antonio Alamo Dome, which leads us to the next dome, which Marquee City, I'd say.
The crown jewel.
I mean,
really.
USFL fans might even be angry if I say this. Probably the Marquee City of spring football right now, because they're the ones consistently pulling in 30,000 plus into that dome. I mean, It's hard to say otherwise. So naturally, St. Louis is back in the mix. And I mean, they're even making some new accommodations. We saw the new VIP areas with the club rooms and things like that. I mean, it's looking sweet. I will say this, maybe not right away, but soon they should invest in the turf. That's my one gripe. Yeah. That's my one gripe with the dome is it's not bad, but it's showing its age a little bit. So you know what, in due time, it's nice that they're getting a new boxed area, a new club area, things like that. But hopefully, you know, I think this could be, not will be, but could be one of the benefits of these two leagues coming together as well is now you have Fox that has a lot of the, you know, they have a lot of the business side covered. They have the broadcasting covered, right? They're owned by a broadcasting company. The USFL is. And so I think coming together, I think that helps split the resources a little bit to where, again, probably not for next season, because I don't know if they can get it done even by next season, but maybe the year after. You know what? Hey, we've been here for 3, 4, 5 years now. We're looking to be here for another 3, 4, 5, 6 more. Let's go get some pretty new turf on this field. That's my only complaint about St. Louis. But other than that, marquee.
Part of that our discussion, and I have to revisit this a little bit after the show or maybe while we're in it. But the city's still trying to allocate what it's doing with its NFL funding from the lawsuit it had previously won. So, or at least they had settled on, I'll take it, but they were going to win it to me no matter what. So that money could eventually, and I know it's been stated by I believe St. Louis Dispatch has mentioned this, that there are possibilities that those renovations can go towards Dome of America Center and the entire center itself. Mm-hmm. So, because remember, the Dome is part of one massive convention complex,
right?
As well. So they have to consider its cost. However, that turf has been brought up in discussion before because it is pretty ugly. They also did a college football game that was a neutral site with the University of Missouri this year, and a lot of Mizzou fans had their own takes on it.
Sure.
So yeah, it's very much in the public light as a piece that needs some refresh, because that's definitely from the St. Louis Rams like their last time they even tried upgrading things in there.
100%.
Late 2000s, maybe early 2010s, probably what I can think right there.
For sure. But I'll tell you this, even with that, I'd still say it's probably the marquee city. Does it have some work to do? Sure. If you want to get down to, we're going down a path here. If you want to get down to my favorite though, like actually being there, this is going to sound crazy. Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. To me, it's the perfect size. The field and the turf is just so crisp, so clean. It's immaculate. Every time I go there, I'm just reminded at how nice it really is. And it's actually kind of a shame that they didn't get more use out of that stadium until the USFL was around. Right?
It's a very personable place. That's why I like it so much. You know, so it's not too large, but it's like doesn't feel like it's a small venue to go to. Mm-hmm. You know, and again, you're nestled right at the really place where it all began.
Right.
For the professional sport that we know in America as the NFL, and what has gotten us to this point to even consider spring football an entity. So, yeah, I'm with you on there. You know, it's add in that we've gone to both the USFL championships and have had great times at both, and memories we'll never forget. I mean, it's hard to pass that one as my favorite too.
Right. Now, which leaves us now our last stadium, the last team selling tickets officially right now. And this one in the XFL, and that's where we're at here, Seattle, the Sea Dragons, Lumen Field. So this is another one of those teams that from the recent reports may or may not be in this new iteration. Well, if we look at what we know, what's happening, what's out there, they are selling tickets. Now, this leads me down a couple paths here. So first, well, where are we not? Vegas, which we've talked about openly. And I don't know how this is even possible. Houston, what are we doing? Come on. Papa needs to go all in or rough them up or something in 2024. But now that's
got to get some stuff figured out.
Right.
You know?
So, I mean, time is ticking. Naturally, there's merger talks happening. things could be on hold. I know things are business as usual, but things like renewing that new stadium deal, as we reported earlier this year, they're doing a little bit of construction at TDECU. Looks like there might not fit the timeline for the XFL to play there. Then there was talks of them reaching out to some other stadiums. Rice topping the list at the time, but nothing, at least that I've heard or seen made official, has been there. Like, there's no ink drying on the paper. So that one's still not there. Now, I will say this. I already paid for my season tickets, so I don't know what happens to that. I am quite interested to learn, as I'm sure a bunch of other people are. But I'm sure they'll keep us updated as we know more. I mean, realistically, when the illness we shall not name happened, I was pretty quick to get that refund from the league. So if for whatever reason there's not a season in 2024 in Houston, I don't expect any otherwise. I think I'll see that. Quite honestly, if they say, hey, you can roll this over into 2025, even though we don't know the details, I'll probably just do that because that's, why not? It's already paid for. It's done. But I mean, I think it's important to notice, right? So we talked about a couple teams not being in the mix last week. Well, they're selling tickets, and at least one of them that we talked about being in the league last week isn't. I think that's worth pointing out. And again, that's not to say none of this gets sorted, because even Vegas, realistically, maybe they don't have a stadium now. They were rumored to be talking to folks in Portland, and I think the big one leading the charge there was Tempe, Arizona. ASU,
that one,
which I actually love that stadium, Sun Devil Stadium. I know you'll hate to say it because you live out there now, but God, it just never seems to work the way you want it to in Arizona. I have my thoughts on that, but you're there, so I actually want it to happen now. So if that's an option, let's make it an option. And you know what? Best case scenario is we look at the list that we had last week, and it's actually expanded upon. And there's more teams. And then we do see Seattle and Vegas or Arizona or whoever in the mix. And please, spring football gods, you've blessed us so far, so many times in Houston. Now is not the time to let us go.
No, I don't know.
With you either way, though. Just know it.
I don't know if that's actually what's going on. I still am firmly on the camp of that. Negotiations with Rice Stadium, whether it's the XFL or whatever entity is going to be merged, are happening. We had people worrying about Detroit, and credit, it was pretty delayed by all accounts compared to the other three. But, it took time. They did it kind of like a year-over-year deal, and, they got back together and made it work. And so, I think you add in the fact, like we've talked, merger kind of, I think, scatter shots a lot of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm sitting, where it's like, I bet, again, we're going to have this in a second, but might as well speculation-ish zone on this, where it's like, there's a chance they could still have that talk right now and be just completely distracted with that. Because Houston is the biggest hot button topic on anyone's merger list as to what happens with that market. To the point now where it's like, no one really truly knows anymore what's going to happen there. There's a lot of leading stuff we've reported and others have reported, but now it's like, hey, let's chill out a little bit, and at this point, everyone just wants an angle. Might as well just wait for the ride, because it's happening this month, no matter what, from what I see.
It feels
and
like
everyone else feels like it,
It feels like, maybe that, I know we speculated about it last week, but just for a good measure, you want to jump into the speculation zone real quick?
I think that's
talk about timing
I think
again?
it's a good way to part. Yeah, it's a good way to jump in. Right. That's about where we need to start with this.
All right, let's kick the intro. We're in the speculation zone, and we got a lot to speculate about. We speculated about it last week, but let's speculate about it again this week. There was a lot of fans that were convinced. They were convinced that we were going to get the news this past Monday, October 30th.
There were.
In all fairness, it stemmed around the timing of when the paperwork was filed with the government. There's essentially a clause in there that neither party could talk about it for 30 days. That's when the 30 days was up, at least over the weekend, which would leave it to Monday. So I think a lot of people were waiting for some type of news to drop. But as such, there's always a little bit more intrigue, a little bit more suspense in some of these types of announcements. So we're actually recording on Friday. We're recording the day that this episode gets released here. Mm-hmm. I figured, you know what? Let's tee it up again. Because, you said it. I think the general feeling is that this news is probably going to come by the end of the month. It feels like it has to come by the end of the year at minimum, the XFL is going to hit the field because, their training camp starts in January unless they start training camp during the talks. It feels like there's a lot to figure out there. I'm gonna jump into my thoughts, and I don't know if I touched on this in the last episode, but I'm going to touch on it now. I'm going to be the one. I don't think we get it next week. I don't think we get it the week of the 6th. I think we get it the week of the 13th, or some would say the week of the 17th, because it's my birthday, baby. The ref going all in on a big, beautiful league announcement. BBL, sign me up. But in all seriousness, no, taking the jokes out of it. And you know what? I would be signed up if they do drop it on my birthday week.
Because it's all for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what they've been holding out on. Sorry, folks. It's for my birthday. But you know what else it is? The week of the 17th or the week of the 13th, whatever you want to call it. It's also the week before Thanksgiving, which is one of my favorite holidays, even though they don't have a bunch of movies about it, because I like to eat and I like a good old turkey and ham mixture. But there's a couple things that happen on Thanksgiving. One, everybody's flying home. They're talking to their family. You know what else they're doing? They're watching football. Who airs the first game of the day? The Lions game, if you didn't know, Restore the Roar. That would be Fox, right? Fox does air the first game of the day. I'm almost positive.
Usually they are. Yeah. Usually they kick things off.
Well, I hope they do this year. Otherwise, I'm going to look like a fool. But either way, they are going to air a game if it's not the first one. And, maybe perfect time for a promo for your newly merged league. It actually also brings me back to a similar strategy that funny enough, the XFL used in 2020 when they dropped their new footballs. Those 8 beautiful new footballs. What did they do? They sent it out to all the local news stations, all the local sports radio stations. They sent them like little mocked up butterball turkeys with their football, right? And to me, you know what? If you have a good idea, I have no problem reusing a good idea. I see a beautiful world where the week before Thanksgiving, we get the news drop, promo goes out everywhere, right? Which could be another reason that we're still waiting a couple weeks or maybe a week or however long after they're able to openly talk about it, because they got to get that promo ready. They got to get the print material ready. They got to get all. This is speculation zone, everybody, too, by the way. I'm going to say it like 20 times. Speculation
Keep that in mind.
zone. I'm not saying this is going to happen. There's more of me being like, this is what I want to happen. But me speculating on it at the same time. But I could see, hey, maybe this is the reason we're seeing a little bit of a extra pause area beyond that extended time. Get the promo ready. Drop the announcement like Monday or Tuesday, like the 13th or the 14th. Hit all the stations. Get everybody talking about it. ESPN, they got their ties with XFL. They're going to be talking about it. Fox Sports 1, they're going to be talking about it. Yep. I feel like you can even get CBS Sports, CBS to be talking about this. Your local markets,
I imagine
all of it.
CBS Sports will talk about it, period. They actually are one of the most straight up spring football writers in the scene. And they have no investment besides the CFL.
And sign them up. Yeah. So needless to say, you get a week of promo. And then to me, the beautiful part is what I mentioned first. I probably should have did this in the reverse order, is people are all going home. They're talking to their Uncle Jerry's. They're talking to their niece Sally. They're talking to their nephew Cody, who, man, I'm going to be a freshman next year in high school, and I think I'm going to go play for the football team. Well, hey, Cody, did you see... you watched the XFL, right? Did you see they merged with the USFL and now they're the BBL, the Big Beautiful League? Or again, joking on that one.
Conversation around
speculation zone. Or you add into the fact, it's a prime opportunity because we saw Fox promoting the USFL since week 1 last season in the NFL, right? Week 1 of the NFL, they were dropping USFL promos. They haven't dropped any this year. I feel like it's more of the wait. And what a perfect time, because everybody, even non-football fans that are waiting for the turkey to be done, waiting for the stuffing to be ready and the mashed potatoes to be mashed. They're sitting on the couch with some cranberry Sprite watching a football game. And you're a liar if you say otherwise. I know there's people that don't, but there are so many people that do, and it's just such a perfect time. Now, again, I stole the speculation zone from you, Zach.
Well, no. You
Thoughts?
didn't. I didn't think you fully did. I mean, you led in with what I think you wanted as a theory you were providing that I was waiting for. Remember, we talk about some of this stuff before the show, so I'm ready for this. Look, I'll tell you what. I mean, if we want to even get into deeper context here about this, something that's been discussed, you have a lot of leagues like the leagues that in the past like this, they take time off on the holidays, or holidays seem to be kind of like a quieter period starting around Thanksgiving. So to me, if you even want to add in like business affairs, do you really want to work through Thanksgiving if you have a chance to get it done by Thanksgiving? Because legally, if everything makes sense from what we've talked about with the FTC and how these mergers work, legally you could just announce it today if it was approved and then say, cool, let's wrap this up for now. We'll start like doing some prep behind the scenes, but like let's chill out for like the rest of November. So that's where I think like we've talked in the past where you and I have kind of talked that like Thanksgiving seems like to us the complete cutoff. Like, let's get this done by late November because again, do you really want to work through the holidays that hard? Like, you're already doing this much lifting. You want to at least have a good chunk of stuff and have that announcement out, say, hey, let's talk about it. And then again, like you're talking, then we can throw a promo out on Fox and on, and on different networks that we have as well to get that actively going if you want. Hell, we could even ask NBC because they do a Thanksgiving game. You can have two of the broadcast networks put out promos if you were getting them on the same page. Again, NBC's the third party in this whole shtick, so who knows? But I digress. There's opportunities as well to get it done by then. But I would think for the sanity of some of these people and the fact that a lot of times you see these holiday events where corporate offices kind of just take a back for about a week or so, that's kind of my thing too, where I'd be like, even in the top offices where some of these top executive vice presidents are right now, or the ownership's going, okay, we really need to get this done before the holiday so we can start the buzz going during the holidays and late into football season too.
Right.
When we can start hitting the ground with promos again. Fox probably wants to get that going.
Oh, 100%.
Really bad.
Yeah. And again, we're still in the speculation zone. So I'll say my thoughts is, I think too, once they drop this news, I think we're going to get like a nice, good package of news. I don't think we're going to get, yep, we're merging, more details coming. I don't think we're going to get that. Now there might be.
You're going to get the whole shebang of this thing, man. There's no way it's just that. That would be too lame duck.
Now there might be some more details coming, but I think at minimum we get whatever the league's going to be called. I think speculation zone. Speculation zone. I think we get what the league is going to be called. I think speculation zone. That we get where the teams are going to be located. And I assume because of that, we'll probably get the names. I could see them not doing the names, maybe because of the Houston thing. But I think, again, speculation zone can't be said enough. We probably get the league name, the city locations, all of those things. I think we get most of what everybody's looking to hear. Where I think there's probably going to be more details around is, coaches, staffs, things like that. Because I don't know if it's all we'll have to see what it looks like. Is everything 1-to-1 where like all of that shifting around? So I don't know. Maybe that will be there day one. Maybe it won't. But I think we'll have a good amount of news to talk about going into the holiday. If it is that they drop the news the week prior to the holiday. And I'll say, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a fun episode of the show to drop. What a birthday episode. I'm really old this year, Zach. I'm going over the hill. I'm turning 40.
Wow.
Did you know that? I don't even know.
I knew.
You just knew I was old.
Told me this. I thought you told me this. I know you're not like old. Like I know you ain't like old man. Like I'm just saying like I knew it was getting there.
Yeah.
I knew it was getting there last we talked.
So I'll tell you, if I'm going to be getting old, sign me up. If this is what getting old is like, I'll take it. If I knew, Zach, if I knew when I was like 20 and I first put on this referee shirt that 20 years later I'd still be wearing it, the same one. I don't know. Seriously, whoever the manufacturer of this cheap nylon referee shirt is, sign them up. I mean, it stood the test of time.
What the heck is it? What's the Halloween store?
Spirit USA.
Yeah, Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so anyway, I'm amazed this thing is still like in one piece. And other people have said, it's a little big on you. I know, but the fact that it's still around 20 years later, I just kind of, I owe it to it, kind of. So anyway.
It works.
I don't know where I was going with all. Oh yeah, I'm getting old. So if getting old means that we get to have a sweet episode about a new big beautiful league coming together for you and us to enjoy, sign me up there. So I'm looking forward to that. Just kind of like, I also wanted to take a pause because we're out of the speculation zone now, folks. Just by the way. I know what I say. What I say coming up next might shock some of you.
If you need to know where the official end is, he has marked it right now. Don't worry, even if there's no chapters on the video version, he's going to say it right now.
And anybody who's asking for chapters, I mean, be a man. Listen to the whole episode. I don't know what to tell you. Timestamps. I mean, I'm not going to give you an excuse to skip around. Maybe I will one day. I don't know. Anyway, so we're out of the speculation zone. But, I think it's important to talk about this. I don't know if anybody actually thinks this, but I wanted to talk about it because you and I have spent the last 2 years, I'd say primarily focused on the USFL. I mean, case in point, we have the USFL podcast. Now I have the newsroom sites and we have, we maintained XFL newsroom, USFL newsroom. We had writers for both. We covered all the games from both leagues, both championships, playoffs, you name it. We were there. We covered it. We did all that. I was at all the Roughnecks games, mind you, other than the one that overlapped with Spring Stock. But I mean, what do you expect? I mean, Spring Stock,
what can you do,
Spring
right?
Stock, I got to go to Spring Stock. I mean, I'm hosting the damn thing. So anyway, I think it's important to level set people. Like, I love the XFL. I already mentioned I was at all the Roughnecks games earlier this year. I was at all the Roughnecks games in 2020. I was at all the fan engagement events in 2019. Is it behind me? I think so. Hidden somewhere over there is a Spring League badge. I think so. Yeah, it's right next to the Vectrex.
It's got. Right it's got to be. You have this massive collection of PRs, or PR badges.
That Spring League, which is so crazy how we've kind of. I know the Spring League is not the same as the USFL, but it's kind of connected in a way. Everything's really come full circle because that's from, I believe, 2018. Near the end of 2018. Maybe, no, it had to have been 2019.
No, it'd been like 21.
No, this is before.
2020,
This
2021,
is from,
you're talking TSL.
No, this is before the Spring League was its own league. This is when they were a developmental league for the XFL.
Oh, yeah,
and so
that's right.
Oliver Luck
They were
was
doing
there.
The rules.
They were testing the rules. They were doing all that. I drove out to Austin. That was the first event I covered. The first event that I was credentialed for. And to me, I love that pass is because where we're at now is it really is kind of like full circle. So it was the Spring League working with the XFL. The Spring League owned by Brian Woods. Brian Woods would go on to air the Spring League on Fox, and then he would go on to reboot the USFL with Fox. Now, you could almost say it's like a spiritual successor to the Spring League. It wasn't a direct continuation of the Spring League, but a spiritual successor. In fact, they both shared the Generals team, right? Slightly different logo, but you get the point, right? That was my first event that I covered, XFL, the Spring League. And now here we are, probably 5 years after that event. And we're talking about the XFL and the USFL coming together. And it's not the Spring League, but you can make the argument spiritual successor. We're coming full circle. We're almost 6 years in the business come January. So I wanted to bring it up because I think people just, there's a lot of spring football fans that weren't here in 2018. They weren't here in 2019. In fact, crazy as it sounds, some of them weren't even there in 2020 when the XFL was doing its thing before the illness we shall not name came and screwed everything up for everybody. So we started XFL Newsroom January of 2018. We're almost 6 years into it. That was our bread and butter. Right, I was devastated when the illness that shall not be named happened. It's crazy to even think about. Like, you and I worked together. I don't even know if you were a member of Newsroom.
No, I was not.
It's
not
crazy.
Until actually post bankruptcy. Yeah.
I can't even imagine a Newsroom without you and James Larson, and neither of you were here during the XFL 2020 season.
I was still doing Gridiron Gallery. Yeah, that was my bread and butter, and I was that was like my my first like big, oh wow, this amazing world of spring football type of thing, and my first reality of how quickly it can just get taken away from you. That feeling I do not forget.
It's hard to
still
forget.
Remember.
It's pain. Yeah. It hurts, man. But at least you get used to it. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, just case in point, it feels like. I mean, I can't even imagine a time where you guys didn't exist, and that was relatively not even that long ago in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. And so this is why I bring it up. I mean, I think a lot of fans here just assume we're USFL homers, and don't get me wrong, USFL all day, sign me up, all in, baby, all in. But don't get it twisted. We're just fans of spring football. Prior to this show, so you had Gridiron Gallery, you covered like everything. You were covering arena ball. You were covering spring ball. You were covering European football. I mean, yeah,
right now I would say while we're doing this episode, I'm actually keeping up on the side with an announcement that the AFL is doing. Cause for those not in the know, they also are having a busy November, releasing like everything. So yeah, that's been going on.
Jeff Fisher
in Nashville for the Nashville Cats. As we're recording, the Louisiana Voodoo are officially announced in Lake Charles. Chicago Rush are announcing theirs in November 17th. Apparently the schedule's out the 16th. So yeah, like you want to talk about spring football. I follow all of it. Like I just keep in all tabs in the communities everywhere is how I do it. And the XFL one, I have made sure to not leave that because I do want to see how it goes. Look, at the end of the day, you have people that even before this merger became what it is now, we're instantly going and even talking and discussing that this might be the possibility. So like you do want, if you're a fan of spring football, you still want to keep up no matter what your preference is on both of them. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's a niche section of the sport. Just like how arena football is a very, very niche section of football. So,
well, I love this stuff. Honestly, dare I say, I like it more than the NFL. I mean, the Lions have they might be doing good this year so far. We'll see. But I've had my hopes and dreams crushed and destroyed time and time again. Spring football, I get to relax a little bit. I get to have a little bit more fun. And I mean, the stories behind it are amazing. Seeing guys, Brandon Aubrey coming in here, tying the record for most consecutive kicks, and it might even break the record next week. That guy was on the Birmingham Stallions last year, and now he's playing for the Dallas Cowboys, along with Cavante Turpin, who, if you guys didn't know, also played in the USFL, but in season 1. So that's why I love spring football, whether it's XFL, USFL, the Spring League. I mean, I used to get flack for liking the Spring League. And that's why I was like, why do you care if somebody likes something?
I am actually shocked at that because, I don't know.
There was nothing on TV then either.
That's the deal. It's like the XFL was still in this kind of middle pattern. Will they, won't they in 2022? And, that was it. So you didn't have anything. I think we should just be all happy to have football outside of the NFL at that point.
Dude, that Mega Bowl?
That actually shocks me a little bit.
Dude, that Mega Bowl, I'll love Rice Stadium. I'll always love Rice Stadium because I was one of the 100 people at the Mega Bowl, counting the players. I think there was, but they didn't do any advertising. I mean, they weren't trying to sell tickets.
And just think, if the rumors hold up that have been talked about for a little bit now, there's a possibility you can relive those memories right back there again.
We will. I will say this. As much as I would love to see the championship in Houston, Texas, if they do that April kickoff, there's no way. You cannot do it. Because I would it was a hot day at Rice Stadium. I'll tell you that much. But either way, I mean, the bones of it is I love spring football. You love spring football, James. All of the newsroom guys, I mean, I don't think they realize, again, there's a reason we have XFL newsroom and USFL newsrooms because we cover it all. I mean, we even cover arena football now. So anyway, my message has been and will always be, hey, these leagues, if they merge, don't merge, fine, whatever. But my ask is, if they do, we need to come together. If they come together, this has the potential to be the biggest spring football league that any of us have lived through. Other than maybe me, because I'm a little old, if you count the original USFL. But since then, the biggest, the largest, every time we've seen 8 teams. This will be more than 8 teams. This will have multiple locations. This will have, star coaches, good players, all quality broadcast. It's everything that we've always wanted. Now is not the time to leave. This is the time to see our spring football dreams come to fruition. And hey, if you're an XFL fan and you're tuning in for the first time, join us too. And that's not to say to stop listening to your other podcasts, because if this is your first time listening to the show, you might be shocked to hear this because not very many podcasts will tell you this. I think we should have as many podcasts out there as possible. There should be as many websites out there as possible. We need as many people to talk about these leagues that we love as possible. We need as many people out there trumpeting the word of spring football to get the word out. Because as much as I do, as much as you do, Zach, as much as everybody else does that is outside of newsroom, you're still not going to hit everybody that hasn't heard that the XFL is back or the USFL is back or that they're going to be merging. We, to use Seth Lesson's lines, we are the crazies.
Yes.
We are the ones in the mud. We're here every week talking about this stuff, looking at it, getting into the weeds. The people that listen to the show, I hate to break it to you, you're crazy too. But there's a good, when you go to Thanksgiving dinner, and if the news drops, like I'm hoping it does, and you talk to your Uncle Roy, and he says, oh, gee, I remember the Houston Gamblers from back when I was a rodeo clown or what, I don't know, whatever Uncle Roy does. And you know what? All of a sudden he's into it because he's not on X or Threads or Instagram learning about all the nitty gritty nonsense that we're talking about every day. So anyway, a long-winded way to say, I'm looking forward to whatever it is. And if it is 2 leagues, sign me up on that. I just want spring football. It's not too much to ask for. That's all I want. Spring football. But join us. Have fun with us. Support the leagues. Either one. That's all I say. No.
It's still spring football. It's if you're a fan of that, then that's what should matter. If you're a football fan, I think that's really what should matter. I think that's even to me, that's an even grander conversation is you got a lot of people just talking, well, it's not the NFL still. I'm actually surprised I may still do that.
Right.
And to those people, I still say, I thought you liked football. And I don't know. Like there is a surprising amount of how do I put it? Superiority complex with especially NFL fans. And I get it. It's a top league, but if you're a football guy, what's the big deal? This is where I a little bit of a skew, but my own personal feelings on that is I always point to, okay, so, you're an NFL guy, you like the pro football scene, and then, you'll watch college football and then, or I'll have college football people, which I think would be perfect for this, watch college football, and not every college football game is a freaking amazing experience either. No. And I go, you can't tell me that you're going to watch some of and not all college football is bad. I'm just saying that every week in any of the leagues, no matter what it is, any level, any league, you're going to find bad games.
Right.
They're not all freaking 50 to 45 or whatever, or 31-30s, so you can't sit here and tell me that this is bad when there is bad football played.
Oh, sure.
At every level of the sport. So that's a conversation I almost want to get into too. If you're jumping on, no one really jumps onto these shows and does that and like goes in our comments and says, screw these leagues. I'm just saying, like, you know, if you want to help with that conversation, listeners,
right.
That's what I'm telling you, because it's still pro football.
Oh, sure.
These are athletes that have been working for this for their whole lives to get a shot anywhere at chances like this. And I mean, come on, how is this bad? I mean, how is this bad to root for?
Right.
This isn't bad to root for.
Well, and I think time will fix a lot of that. I think, you know, people say things but mean another thing quite often. And I think there's this just taste in the back of people's mouths from time and time and time again that we've talked about the ever-growing graveyard of spring football, right? And so, and this was one of my larger points on why I think when they merge, if they merge, rather, that they should choose either XFL or USFL as the name, because at least then it's a true continuation, right? In the case of the USFL, this would be the first time one of these leagues has made it to a season 3 since the last USFL in the 80s. Now, you can make that argument even if they change the name, but it just isn't. And to the non-crazies, it is not, because they may not even have known about the USFL or the XFL. They'll only know about the UFL or the NSFL or the BBL, whatever we end up calling it.
BBL.
And so to me, it's like you're taking a little bit of a step back. I guess the argument there is, we're taking a step back, but to take a larger step forward because we have now more teams, larger this and that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine, whatever. Either way you look at it, I'm going to be supporting it. But I think as time goes by, if you get this thing to last, you know, we're talking about year 3, but if we're talking 5-10 years from now and whatever this thing is called or whatever it looks like is still around and kicking, I think more of that sentiment will go away, because they'll say, okay, it doesn't suck because they're still here. And we've seen, you know, if you get like a Kurt Warner-esque player come out of it or whatever, I mean, we've already got 2 solid players come out of and more than 2 solid players, but 2 that I mentioned earlier with both on the Cowboys, funny enough. Daryl Johnston, I'm telling you, he's using those old connections for
his talking to good. Jerry constantly.
Sign him up.
Just making sure.
But either way, I think time will heal those wounds. And you know what? It's not going to happen right away, even though we potentially will have a bigger, better spring league coming up in the future. But it might reset that clock a little bit if they choose a different name. We'll have to see. I think a good majority of the crazies, like the yous, the me's, the everybody else's, they're still going to be watching next year. All right. I watched the AAF. I want to watch the Major League Football. I watched the stupid Jubilee they put out. You know what I mean? I'll watch anything. And I think there's a good amount of people out there like me that will support this.
It's part of the crazies, man. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Well, not to mention, you know, it's rumored that we could see all of these games on over-the-air TV, so no cable at all. Again, jump it back into the speculation zone. Don't kill me.
Well, I mean, could you imagine?
But if that happens, I mean, now you're talking a whole new world, because you saw some of those lead-in numbers from, you know, the Belmont Stakes and all of those types of things that, man, you could really be rocking and rolling. But anyway, I would hope that time heals all wounds. As these things come together, though, you know, here's some of the things I'm really excited about. Some matchups. I think we may have talked about this last week, but I mean, now we have the opportunity. We were talking about that marquee location of St. Louis. You know, initially I was thinking St. Louis Battlehawks Stallions. To me, that would be the key battle for fans. But the more I thought about it geographically, I feel like Memphis and St. Louis could have one hell of a rivalry. They're not too far from each other. I would love to see people from Memphis travel to the Dome, or even more. What if the Dome came and took over the Liberty Bowl? Like, what if they just came out? Because if they brought it, let's say 10,000 fans showed up, that would be a huge dent in, like, it would be 50-50 in there maybe, right? So to me, I think there's some good fun to be had here. We touched on this last week with like the geographic touch, but now you have that new element of a rivalry. Hey, you were an XFL team and this was my XFL team. You know what I mean? And so now when you have, beyond geography of Memphis and St. Louis, you have that USFL XFL thing in. who knows how they're going to do the divisions, but I feels like there's some natural rivalries based in that alone. The next one that kind of jumps out is the Stallions in DC. If anything, DC, if I had to give DC's crowd an identity, Barstool Sports. That's what I think the DC Defenders crowd is like. And that's a good thing. Don't be mad. I hope there's nobody in the comments like, how dare you say we're like the Barstool. No, I'm complimenting you, you jerk. I mean, throwing lemons on the field, the beer snake. It's like frat bro party house with a football game going on at the same time. And I love that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, without a doubt. Like I think that atmosphere is going to be such incredible. But I mean, that's one thing the XFL ones, in terms of the big names, are going to have is DC and St. Louis. I think that's what's got like USFL fans excited that they can go to those venues, at least from what the looks of it are, and have a chance to check out those fan bases or introduce them to our own. St. Louis, I can imagine, Jesus, but it'll be the best home field between that and DC. It'll be arguably the best home field advantage right now. I can see some Stallions fans commenting about that, but that's where I'm saying, hey, gotta step up. Because I mean, those are very rowdy crowds for those two cities. I can't wait. I really can't wait, by the way, and this is more future planning, but whenever the rest of the teams, if in theory this is how it goes, by the way, this is still up in the air, but say Philadelphia and New Jersey are in this, and that we've talked in the past that there's highly talked about rumors that are out there and that we've looked into that have DC and New Jersey as part of this. That could you imagine the bitterness of that whole section of the U.S. with your fan bases that already are established in the NFL, by the way, with New York and Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. being very highly competitive and very highly rabid fan bases, and getting those fans that take the extra mile now are D.C., Philadelphia, New Jersey, which is going to bring the New Yorkers in, and they got to go against each other, and probably in a perfect world would be put in the same division with each other. I would be ecstatic to see that happen. Right. I want it to happen if it can.
Yeah, well, we have, and me, just kind of on the inverse side of the country, we still get that Texas triangle. Potentially. We talked about Houston's the only one not selling tickets, but you have Arlington in the mix. You still have San Antonio in the mix. And to me, that's 3 stadiums that I can get within a 3-hour drive. 3 hours to Dallas, 3 hours to maybe 3.5 hours to San Antonio, about 2 hours to Houston. So I'm like kind of in the middle of that Texas triangle. So either way, I'm loving that. I hope that sticks around. But especially, I mean, let's just throw it out there. Let's say Houston does stick around. They end up picking up the Gamblers moniker. Well, one, I'm all in on that already because I got my home team. I'll be roughing them up if the Gambler or the Roughnecks come back too. So don't get it twisted. But now I get to be part of that. Now, beyond regional rivalry, you have the league rivalry, because now even more so, I want to go to that Renegades or Brahma's game to go all in, to let them know the ref's here and we're here to win 12-0, maybe more depending on the season in 2024, 2025, 2026, maybe even 2027. My dog is even barking about this one. She's saying,
she's ready to go. Or is it? Or she's ready to go. She's ready to go.
Yeah, she's going all in out there. She's getting signed up. But anyway, you look at it. I mean, I am excited for this to happen. At this point, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be a little bit sad. I know there's some fans that are like holding out hope, crossing their fingers. Please, 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 please don't let this merger happen. I am not one of those. I want it to happen. I want a big, beautiful league for all of us to be enjoying in 2024. I want to see the biggest spring football league that any of us have seen or in our lives or even a long time, depending on how old you are. And I want to see this thing continue to grow, because no matter what the name of this show is, we're going to be talking about this every week, whether it's the USFL podcast, the UFL podcast, the UFO podcast.
UFL
We're
podcast.
talking about it. Just let it be known.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
In any of those scenarios, abso-freaking-lutely. It wouldn't go away. So, yeah, I mean, it's coming around the corner, but like, that I think that the full message here is like, look, like, we do follow as much as we can outside of this. You guys know this.
Yeah.
You guys listening know this. And that, if you are someone that was USFL only, like, hey, welcome in those fan bases again, because at the end of the day, like, you point this out the best, or at least alluded to it, like, eventually we're all going to be combined into one big mass of fans. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of the animosity that does go online, it's either going to get resolved or going to be saying, make it work, or turn into a rivalry type of talk.
Sure.
Where it's like getting at each other with beef, because it's better than the other option that has been going on for well over a year. So
and I'm fine with a little bit of bants. I think there should be a little bit of rivalry there, but yeah, I think the message is support the league, right? I think the banter's fun. I think the rivalry's fun, but I think if you were a Battlehawks fan and these things merge, you should still be a Battlehawks fan. If you were a Defenders fan, these things merge, you should be a Defenders fan. Houston, it gets a little sticky, but even me, let's say they go with the Roughnecks over the Gamblers. Guess what? I'm roughing them up, baby. 12-0, all in, or whatever. We'll figure something out. 12-0, rough them up. We'll get that sorted. Which, by the way, I don't know if I've ever talked about this. I am the person that came up with rough them up. I told them this in 2019. I told them to use rough them up instead of for the H. They didn't use it. And guess what they used this time around, Zach? They used rough them up. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for the tip of the hat or the thank you or something. They probably, whoever is working there now probably didn't even know who took that note. But anyway, just let it be known. I am the creator of rough them up. So if anybody wants to say I'm not a Roughnecks fan, get signed up. So we talked about locations. We talked about some rivalries, some matchups that we're looking forward. We reassured our love of spring football, and we're hoping that you reassure yours. Well, the thing is with the XFL and the USFL, they're more or less the same rules. There's some slight differences when it comes to the kickoff, the extra points slightly. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. The 1 foot rule, no. We're not even going to talk. I'm not even going to welcome it. I'm not even going to entertain the idea. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
You and I have been pretty adamant about this. It's got to be 2 feet. I know that some folks really love it from college. I know the CFL uses it. When I've talked with folks, well, CFL uses it. I'm like, that's great. But what these players are trying to get to, right? The NFL.
Right.
And if it's pro football in the US and you're trying to go to the NFL, I'm telling you right now, it makes more sense for the players to do 2 feet in bounds, because the scouts are going to care more about it. Like, there were some great 1 foot highlights in the XFL last year. And I know someone's like, oh, you just talked nice about the XFL, but like, let's be frank, man. If I see somewhere it's like a 1 foot inbounds thing where this dude's already halfway out of the sidelines making a catch, but he gets that like tiptoe of one in, I'm like, that's not good enough. You got to throw that.
We got to think like a scout.
That is footage you throw away as a scout, sadly.
Right. Which is
That's
unfortunate.
Why 2 feet matters so much more. And we've had great 2 foot catch highlights from last year. Chris Rowland had one of the best ones, by the way, this past season in the USFL. And I think there's great, like I said, there's great examples that just say, hey, stick with the 2 feet. You're going to get better looks that way, especially receivers, And to me, it's more impressive if you can have that much more body control.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's like the one rule. I mean, that's otherwise, like, we can. Like, that's like a no questions asked. I need to see this change. Otherwise, I'll have a little bit of a fit and I guess walk away, but not walk away from the game, but like walk away and go grumble. I'll take it. But no, stick with 2 feet, guys. I promise you, it's better for the players. Yeah. It really is better choice for the players. Do it that way. And that's what this is for, which it is. As I can see my camera completely spazzing out right now. That's going to be a great edit for you.
That'll be fine. It'll be good.
I am not a fan of my DSLR right now. Anyway,
it happens to the best. At least you're one audio track this week. Hopefully, geez, we did an audio test, which we never do before this. Which again, no curtains. It's a good thing we did because my audio was off, so that would have been fun. But so yeah, the kickoff, the 1 foot rule, I can't I can't entertain it. I can't defend it. I think it should be 2 feet. If they use it, fine. I'm going to support this league no matter what. But deep down inside, I'm going to be like, God, it should be 2 feet. What are you doing? The kickoff, I'll be honest, I'm probably a bigger fan of the USFL kickoff. But if they wanted to switch it, I wouldn't be offended. I wouldn't be angry. Right. I get the safety aspect of it. It feels like the NFL might even be trying to work towards a similar kickoff. We'll see if that ever happens. So I wouldn't be overly offended if it happens, but the 1 foot rule to me, that's the one. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the kickoff? I don't know if you have an opinion either way, or as long as they play the game.
I mean, I'm fine with either one. I'm not gonna like be as grumpy if they change it. Like if they go to the XFL version. My thing is I see the momentum for the XFL one already. I mean, the ELF is using it. Mm-hmm. The NFL's already talked about adopting it multiple times in both iterations where it's been brought up in owners meetings. So that's where I'm kind of like, you might. I mean, I wouldn't be hurt if they went to it. It's got the most good conversation towards it. It's not like USFL's is bad,
right?
But it's getting more commonplace to see it, and there's a lot of people even in the NFL space that like it. I wouldn't mind just going with that.
Right.
So, if the USFL kickoff dies, I'm sorry, rest in peace. But you had some pretty hard competition that was already getting inroads many other spots is the deal.
Right.
So that one will hurt. I see you put drones on our notes. I'm like, I hope there's drones. I mean,
well, that was Fox my question. That was one of them where there's, I'd say fans are somewhat split. I'd say there's a majority of them like the drones, but there's a loud minority that don't like the drones.
They did debut, and this is something that fans noticed at the end of the season. Fox did debut a quieter drone that actually did significantly decrease the sound that they were using on broadcast. That's my argument is like, hey, as long as you modify all of them with this type of whatever tech you used or whatever sound reduction you used, there's where you can get back into it. Because I'm telling you, the footage is amazing what you can get with a drone that you can't see elsewhere. Like I really want them to stay as long as they keep whatever they use to reduce the sound and they've perfected it. That's my deal. Mm-hmm. That and helmet cam.
Yeah.
Helmet cam is almost like, please do keep helmet cam period. Like that was great too. Love the social clips that they produced from just those last season.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a huge fan of the drones. I'm not even, the sound didn't even bother me that much. It's something, most of the time I got used to it. After a couple minutes into the game, I'm like, oh yeah, it kind of drones into the regular sound, if you will. And it was so fun watching. I remember being the first season when we were in Birmingham, week 1, and watching them dive from the top of the stadium down to the field.
Right.
Dude, those guys have the coolest job ever. Those drone pilots. Like, think about how cool of it. They just fly drones during a sporting game. Like, that is the flipping coolest job you could get. I mean, I wish I was a little Zoomer right now. That's what I would be doing. Figuring out how to do drones. And I mean, it's a whole new world out there. It's a whole new world.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, I mean, all in all, the rules are pretty similar. The only difference, I don't even know if it's a bigger difference, but when we talk to the extra points, because in the XFL, you can't even kick for a 1-pointer.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how that'll work out. They're both very similar anyway. The difference is that you get kickers. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if you wanted to get the reason that they did it in the XFL for no kickers was that it's to be ballsier about the decision making, because it does kind of become
you might as well go for two.
A lot of the coaches do become pretty comfortable with the 1 point with the kicker because they're used to it. I actually don't know how that'll go.
Yeah.
Like I think you make arguments for both. Audiences are used to seeing the extra point. But you still have those other two available in dire situations. That being said, you can have the other way around, like the XFL, where it's all of them are just plays. However, keep in mind the conversion rate on the 1 point is much lower than hitting an extra point.
Oh yeah.
But then you argue that's the magic of it, is that, well, now it's not guaranteed.
Right. See, I'm a fan of the 1 point kick, the XFL style. Let me just say it like that. The 1 point kick but the option for a 2 and a 3. To me, I like that. I don't like, the problem is you get into, I guess that is the magic, is you get like June Jones out there going for 3 every time and never making them, like never once, like not never once.
But you hope he does at some point. Though.
Yeah, but like they were, we're always going to go for 3, and it would just never work. So I'm like, so I think there's a balance. I think the problem is if you go the USFL route, you'll probably see what happened last year with the USFL is most people just kicked. Unless they were down by like 2, like that extra, whatever that margin was near the end of a game, they weren't going for those extra points.
That's, I think, where you get into analytics where your XPs are almost guaranteed.
Right.
Compared to your 2-point conversions and especially your 3s.
You say that, but even look at the USFL in season 1. I mean, those extra points were not guaranteed.
No. No.
Season 2, yeah, a little bit more guaranteed. But season 1, I mean, nobody could say. I mean, they were fans were probably begging for those XFL. God, please, just let us run for one, please. But anyway, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I know there are some other subtle differences when you get to the play clock, because I think, depending on the quarter, there might be some subtle differences on when it's a running clock versus not. But
I'll tell you one big difference. Here's one that is another non-negotiable for me. Cause I thought, with the exception of like one time in 2 years that I actually was disappointed in this, the XFL does not do the in-depth reviews on personal fouls. They do not. The USFL does. That is one thing that doesn't get talked about enough, is the USFL does reviews on personal fouls if the sky judge or whoever's sitting in the chair desires to do so. And the XFL does not do that. I think whatever merger comes out, they should go with the personal foul review, because it worked out very well. I thought there was only one instance I've seen in 2 years where I thought the review on a personal foul in terms of roughing the passer or any items along that line was completely biffed. But other than that, like, it's changed the game for me. A lot of roughing the passers are they can be ticky-tacky. They can be kind of reactionary from referees. And that's one thing I got to give the officiating crews, the USFL, credit with Mike Pereira, is he's done a really good job at saying, hey, this is a let it play moment. And he's very adamant about that being not a impactful part of the game, is letting something that is like a very ticky-tack foul ruin a game. He's done a great job at that.
Right.
So I'm hoping with him and Dean Blandino, if they are collaborating, which they both work for Fox, and they're going to be combining into a league that will have Fox in it, that's going to be their discussion, of course, everything else. But I'm hoping they talk and Mike goes, look at these results we've had. This has been an incredible addition to our rulebook. We've gotten it done really quick. These aren't slowing down the game. That, to me, has to stay. Yeah. I almost forgot about it, and I hate that I almost did, because that is my second non-negotiable, is because it worked so damn well, and it was really well executed and kept games that could have had game-changing plays out of the way.
Yeah.
Really, I do think, and that could have helped a lot the XFL with some of the plays last year I saw. So please keep that element. That is a really good under-the-radar rule for the replay review that they must use. I want them to use it desperately.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a good point and a good call out. So I agree there. I mean, at the end of the day, the good piece is I think there is going to be a happy medium, even if they picked one league's rules over the other. I mean, even if it, dare I say, the 1 foot rule, there still isn't that many huge differences between the two. So where I think there is going to be both sides, fans of either league. I mean, let's be quite honest. Most fans are fans of both of these leagues. I know everybody acts like there's this huge rivalry. Nah, I mean, most of us are watching both
they'll
these
have their
things,
preference for the most part. Yeah.
So, but I think people will be happy no matter what we get, as long as it's similar in quality, similar in gameplay, and we don't lose kind of that magic that we were talking about. But I think the last one that you brought up is a solid one there too, because I mean, those impact games, those types of things impact games. And, that's why I think when people get really angry when you have a rule that could be, like I said, impact the end of a game because it gets overlooked or whatever.
I go back to, the first North Division championship where Luis Perez throws one of his early picks in that contest. and they had ruled a personal foul, roughing the passer in that one. And yeah, it was a little bit of a rougher hit, but you look back and it looks like a standard hit. They reviewed it. They flipped it. Interceptions kept. That was one of the crucial picks in that contest, because that was one of the interceptions where they were deep in Stars territory.
Right.
That's points left on the board. And keep in mind, this game was a 2-point contest.
Right.
It's 14-12. Yeah, it's 14-12. It was a very cutthroat, to the wire contest where if Alexander doesn't score that kick return TD, who knows what happens if that pick gets reversed. So that's type of moments, like I said, it's vital you keep that. It's been really impactful. Hell, Michigan against Pittsburgh, Trey Quinn scores an incredible touchdown in that fourth quarter, just blitz of points those two teams had. And that one almost got called back for a pass interference or for like an offensive PI or like something along that line. And I'm forgetting, no matter what, there was a penalty on that play. They reversed it.
Yeah.
Again, that's a great use of replay because, again, refs aren't perfect, but that's the point of having a sky judge, is to catch misses like that and be that final barrier, the safety of the officiating crew. So, yeah, use that to your advantage, and keep that style. That style worked the best out of all the iterations I've seen. XFL 2.0, 3.0, USFL, that has been the best one. Is that usage of the replay system.
Well, we can all hope, and hopefully we'll know sooner rather than later. Maybe on the next episode we'll see.
Maybe so.
I know that our buddy, our good friend James Larson is cooking up another big interview for the channel. I'm not going to release the name yet just because it isn't recorded yet, but keep your eyes peeled. It should drop sometime next week on this channel, which leads me to another good reason. Beyond being subscribed, you need to be clicking the bell, getting the morale, because it also lets you know when we're dropping new episodes and when we go live, because we do that from time to time as well, especially, let's say we got a draft coming up. We don't know when it's going to be. We're going to be covering it. Spring stock, we're going to be there. Summer stock, we're going to be there. And you're not going to want to miss it if you can't be there live. And you can find it over here, over at our YouTube channel. I mean, might as well say it too. Another good reason to follow us over on social media at USFL Podcast. Maybe a limited time only. We'll have to see on what the name of this league is. Maybe it'll be BBL Podcast soon. We'll have to see. But right now, USFL Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the places, all of the things. Discounts, 10%, USFL Newsroom, Breaking Tea, sign you up. You know the deal. Zach, any final words before we head into the abyss and we put on our waiting shoes and wait a little bit longer for the news?
Bundle up and get comfy. Just get ready for whenever this does drop. And honestly, just expect anything because, as you all know, it's been every angle that's been approached at this point. Only the league really knows is all we can say. So sooner rather than later, I'm excited. Just like everybody else, buckle up. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I think that's it though, folks. I think we've gone through the gauntlet. As always, let us know. You like it, you don't like us, let us know down in the comments. Do all the subscription things, all of the fun stuff. But until next time, guys, sign you up.